I will be talking about BRM Connect a little later in the presentation, as well as many more things specifically related to the topic of becoming and excelling as a BRM. And during the presentation, please feel free to throw any questions in the chat. We will make sure to have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. I always love having interactions. So alongside that, please be ready to interact within the chat. I've already seen a lot of, just great chatter and community throughout today. So just keep that in mind. I will be asking a few questions just to get some involvement and some interaction. Alrighty. So as we go into it, I want all of you to consider and think of just kind of one question and keeping that in mind as we're entering this sort of BRM discussion and realm. And that question is, why is BRM relevant in today's organizations? Just keep that in mind as we're going through it. What's changed in the global landscape? What is changing relationship to relationship, person to person? We hear the word purpose a lot more nowadays. And so the question is, why BRM? And I'd like to answer that a little bit by kind of expanding back and taking a little bit of a macro view as to what has happened over the past, say 100 years or so in regards to what an organization is, or the evolution of organizations. So all of us are very familiar with sort of the typical top-down hierarchy that many organizations have taken and still have within their structural elements today. And this is sort of the origin, right, of organizations with autonomous power sort of directed towards the top being directed down. Typically a lot of siloed mentality. There's not a lot of interaction. IT within this space has been mentioning the relationship maturity model has been within the sort of ad hoc order taker for quite some time. And only until recently has this shift started to occur from this sort of triangular hierarchy into a little bit more of organizations as an organism. That's with a bit more agile teams. Organizations are starting to look at themselves and kind of really see how can we get people from one function talking to another function, and it's starting to evolve a little bit more naturally. However, at this point, there's still a lot of product and profit focus, which will always be there, is incredibly important. But since then, there's been a major shift into organizations seeing a triple bottom line of people, purpose, and planet. Again, I mentioned you're hearing a lot of the word purpose in today's organizations. What is coming with this shift of purpose? Well, it's organizations recognizing that in order to reach this purpose, everybody needs to be on board. Everybody needs to understand, and that purpose needs to align and converge with what they believe in themselves and what they want to do for themselves to help the organization and those around them. So what this is doing is evolving an organization from a machine to an organism to relationships. It's everybody is sharing purpose and driving forward together with leadership as practice, as a typical leadership style. And we're starting to recognize more partnerships being what are driving organizations forward. Consider your email exchanges, right? Every email you have with a person has value, as simple as that. It goes all the way to interactions and presentations and teamwork. All of these little things on a daily basis are adding to your relationship value. And so keeping that in mind, we as BRMs or BPs, I will let you know that I'm going to be using the term BRM, but BPs, if that is your role, I have not forgotten about you. That's just typically the language that I'm used to here in the States. But this really does cover both the BP role, the BRM role, because it all falls within the BRM capability of every single organization. So keeping this in mind, this context of what organizations are evolving into, I now kind of want to take it back to relate it to each of you as individuals, each of us as individuals. And I'm going to ask you to consider your R, or the way I look at this, as your best working relationship that you have ever had with anyone. You can close your eyes if you have to. Picture that person in your mind. Who have you had the best working relationship with? What sort of feelings came up when you worked together? How well were you able to work on and off of each other? What sort of value were you able to drive when you work with this person? As you have that person kind of pictured in your mind, what are those feelings? What value has been driven? And what would you like to see moving forward with that person? You know, has this person been a previous boss of yours? Is it a current teammate? Is it a high school science partner? Keeping that all in mind, now I'm going to ask each of us to sort of provide feedback on what did you feel when working with this specific person? And I'm going to ask Marlene to sort of monitor the chat as you go ahead and just put in an adjective or feelings, anything that comes to mind when you picture this person and your R or your best working relationship with somebody. And Marlene, if and as these answers start to come in, I'll ask that you sort of chime in and just let me know what people are saying. I personally, for myself, the feelings that I get when working with this person are purpose. I feel very purposeful. I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders working with this person, if that makes sense.
So trusted is coming up multiple times, loyal, valued, enjoyment, energized.
Beautiful. I'm loving all of these. And I will just let you all know the sun has started to come in the windows here. Marlene, is my face obscured or anything like that?
You're fading a little bit. It's just kind of like maybe a movie, you know, part of your Tom Cruise movie thing as you're fading into like transparency. But I will have to say, Martin Crane, fits and giggles. Fits and giggles by far is my favorite comment. Fits and giggles while resolving complex issues. So thank you, Martin.
as I'm going to ask for some volunteers here in a moment. I would appreciate hearing what you mean by fits and giggles and what this type of relationship was like. But the next question I'm going to ask and ask people to respond in the chat as well is, when in your life did you have this type of relationship? Is this relationship current and ongoing? Was this relationship back 10 years ago in a different organization? What was the relationship like? And when did this take place? While answers start to come in, I'll share briefly about myself. I do recognize that I'm relatively young, and I will say that the best working relationships that I have had and do have are current. I would say my best working relationship has happened as of recent, and I have felt all of these feelings that you're mentioning: trusted, loyal, valuable, fits and giggles, right? You need to have fun with what you're doing and who you're interacting with.
Pretty sure he's talking about me. Pretty sure.
I liken it to the fact that when you're working off of this person, you're just understanding what's going on in their world. You almost have an internal connection that you're just, again, as I mentioned, use the words firing on all cylinders. I've played soccer my whole life, and having been in a room full of UK BRMs, using that word, it sounds a bit harsh, so I will say football. I've played football my whole life, and it's almost as if I'm moving down the field and I can feel somebody running right up the side as an overlap. I know where they're going to be, and I can just pass the ball to them. Again, I apologize if the word football is a bit too a bit stinging right now, as about the recent Euro Cup, but as I liken that to football, I think a lot of you can recognize and understand that what that feels like and what that is like. And if you're feeling that within your organization, within somebody who you've had a working relationship with, it's great to call that out. So has anything come in at this point, Marlene, that you've like to note?
You lost many people. They dropped off like flies as soon as you said the word soccer. So sorry. No, actually, I'm really happy to see that many of them are current and recent and ongoing. Sarah, she had hers 15 years ago. Mike had his in his early career. So just from my perspective, when you have it early in your career and 15 years ago, you then know what you're looking for. And it kind of gives you sort of that bar set a while ago to where it's like you expect that from your relationships moving forward because you had it a long time ago. So even though it may not, you may have it where it's like the first one you have is recent and it's ongoing right now, it will be something you set the bar for moving forward.
Absolutely. And while we do have some of those answers coming in, I will ask for a brave volunteer or two to sort of step up and share, when in your life did you have this relationship? I know it can be kind of tough to take the spotlight sometimes, but it never hurts to understand a story and hear another story of the BRMs. And that's what we're all about with creating relationships here. So do we have anybody who's willing and brave to just share a little bit about what that relationship is like and what that means to them?
I think you've got Martin has put his hand up. So I will enable your mic. There you go.
Hi.
Hi, Martin.
Hi. Yeah, I was the one that says fits and giggles. It's just that's the, if you've got a relationship where when you meet each other, the first thing you do isn't smile because that's what you have, then I think, the relationship's not right. So, that's it just breaks barriers down. And, when I say fits and giggles, it's a bit cheesy, but when you're in that mindset and the endorphins are flowing and you've got the dopamine hit and you get wired and you get, it kind of things flow, the flow comes and you like say when it's complex issues because you're kind of in a position where no one's scared of coming up with there's no such thing as a wrong idea, but you can come up with issues and then rather than someone keeping silent and thinking that won't really work, you can laugh it off and say, "Come on, really?" And then I just think when you've got that kind of bouncing around off each other, so that's where I come from, really.
No, Martin, you raise an incredibly valuable point. When there's open communications and trust, it creates an atmosphere where there are no wrong answers, right? You don't have to be embarrassed to bring up an idea, as crazy it may sound, because it will be received well. And if you're able to laugh it off and be like, all right, I guess that wasn't a great idea. But sometimes this is where the best ideas spur from and the most value can come from. So when you have those types of ideas and relationships, that's where the value and the energy really starts to build and expand to those around you.
Yeah, and exactly. If someone's comfortable around you, like you said, they're open to them either the hard questions or the hard answers. So that's where I think, and like I say, it's all about relationships, the keys in the title. So yeah, just keep it energized and keep it happy. That's what you want to flow.
Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing, Martin.
No problem.
Tom, we've got Hannah as well who's willing to share. If you'd like to take somebody else, or do you want to move on?
Absolutely. The more the merrier. I'll take up to 3 at this point, if that's all right. If Hannah, you'd like to join.
Hannah, if you just unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Yeah, I think, well, mine's actually completely, it's very, so I put early career on mine, and the reason for that goes back to Jade's and Dennis's point at the beginning. So I am also fairly young in the BRM world, but I've been in the role for 3 years. So I started working with executives straight out of university, and I had someone in the senior management team at my last place who really took me under their wings. So it was a bit of informal mentoring. But I also worked with them, and we worked on policies and strategic plans and all of our kind of strategy moving forward for students in UK higher education. And feeling like even though I was straight out of university and other people would make jokes about my age and my experience and everything, this person literally saw me as the person I was and the potential that I had. And that for me will always be the relationship that I had. And I think the best part of this is very personal, as it was kind of the thing, is this person was seen as being very, very kind of stone-faced, and they removed that for me, and that was such an honour. And when I actually left, we exchanged details, and she cried, and it was just a wonderful experience. But that's something that I've taken forward now through the rest of my career, and that was, years ago. So yeah, it's just for everybody on this call, the value that mentoring and actually nurturing opportunity gives is you can't put words to it really.
I'm right there with you, Hannah, and I love hearing your diverse experience from Martin's as well, because you mentioned, that people sort of perceived her as this sort of stone-faced person, right? But underneath it all, everybody has feelings. We all have needs, and we all want to connect and feel that sort of connection. That's why it was so difficult when you had to sort of part ways, right? And so with that, I think they mentioned as well another incredibly important tool is the ability to listen. I would venture to guess that you probably just did a great job of listening to her and understanding where she was coming from while she shared her knowledge from a mentorship capacity. Is that true?
Yeah, and I think it's the basis of any relationship really, because otherwise if it's one way, it's not a true relationship. So I think there's, that actually listening to somebody, and I think the worst thing that anybody can do is go off someone else's perception of somebody, because if you go on a preconceived perception of a person, you'll go into that with the wrong mindset. Whereas if you get to know them yourself, you can then make informed decisions. And again, some people don't get on, unfortunately. You won't always be liked, but it is that thing of actually, as long as you spend the time to get to know each other and understand kind of where your commonality is, or the other way around, where your differences are, to understand how you can learn from each other, I think that's really valuable.
Absolutely. And thank you. I very much appreciate you stepping forward to share that personal story as well. It means a lot, Hannah.
We've got one more for you. We've got Neil Parkin. So Neil, if you unmute yourself now, you should be able to talk to Tom.
Thanks very much. My most effective working relationship has actually come relatively recently in the last couple of years. So I'm very, very new to business relationship management. I haven't started yet. I have been promoted. I have the job, but we are in a transitional period at the moment. So I'm still the IT guy. And this relationship comes from being the IT guy for the building that I work in. And the operations manager in the school that I worked in gave me the confidence to actually go to apply for the business relationship manager job, because I saw myself as an IT grunt. I was an IT technician. I was very good. I fixed things. I built brilliant relationships, but I didn't really see the business relationship management that I did day on day. And this manager actually was the one that made me realize all of the support that I gave to them was actually business relationship management. It was dealing with the school management. It was helping guide them towards strategy, providing the information regarding IT to them day on day, because I worked in the same building as them. So that was actually the relationship, because that gave me the confidence to become a BRM. So that's the one I definitely had to use for there.
Yeah, and it sounds like sort of one of the best things that you did to really show your value through that relationship is doing valuable things, right? Sort of the quick win mentality. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was standard IT support, responding to whatever tickets came in. But while I was there fixing a laptop or fixing the printer, it's actually saying, we're talking about work and talking about what the goals were, and actually providing input into that and giving those quick wins, and being to the point that I am now the only person he contacts. I'm unfortunately now in that position where he doesn't use the ticketing system anymore. So yeah, I have to roll that back a bit. But yeah, it was the quick wins. It was the just being available to give very quick advice. Oh, Neil, what do I do? We need to do this as a school. Who do we speak to? Oh, Neil, we need to actually enable this. Where do we start? So I was very little doing it. It was the guiding them towards, and that is kind of what I'm starting to see BRMs all about, is actually that guiding, that connections, making those connections.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing as well, Neil. And I would love to hear more from everybody here on the call, because we all have stories like this, right? We're all able to connect with people and have an idea of, what that R is like, what that best working relationship is like. So now that we have that in our mind of what that felt like, what sort of value was added, how we go about this with listening, with quick wins, with mentorship capacities and such, right? I'd like for each of you to imagine now if you had this type of relationship with every single person on your team. What sort of value could be created out of that? What sort of feelings and openness and community around that shared purpose would allow you to have those great, crazy ideas that you can have fits and giggles with, right? And now take another moment and imagine that your organization was entirely built of relationships just like that. Every single relationship that exists within your organization drives value and is able to reach its potential just like that are. What could your organization achieve with a thriving network of relationships? And this is where I'm drawing it back to that image I showed a little bit earlier as the relationship-centered organization. And currently, every organization has a BRM capability to help foster and build these partnerships and relationships. Some organizations are a little bit, further advanced in terms of relationship building and being relationship centered, but we all start from this in what we do. I believe Hannah mentioned a little bit earlier that her mentor saw the potential within her, right? And that's how she treated her. She didn't see her as this kind of sort of new person coming in. What if every relationship was like that, where we see past our initial perceptions and see the potential that can get there? I would imagine that the value that can come out of this is infinite. It's infinite value potential. So with all of that in mind, your organization may or may not be, far down the line in terms of being relationship centered. But the great news is that each of you is already a part of this network of great relationships. I think we felt it today that the single global BRM community it's unique. It's special. Just seeing the interactions in the chat today and the gifts and the banter, but also just valuable questions and comments and support shows that we know how to foster these relationships and that we are here and we share these same experiences with and around each other. So I encourage each of you to just, after this meeting today and tomorrow after this event, stay in touch with those within the UK, connect outwards to everybody else within the single global BRM community, because it is truly global and we all are here to help support each other and advance all the organizations to become relationship centered. So taking that macro view again, I like to expand and kind of go granular and come back out again. I want to jump back once more to sort of what you do in your role, right? Now that you're aware you have this support. How do you go about fulfilling your mission? Apologies. A BRM's mission is to evolve culture, build partnerships, drive value, and satisfy purpose. You all have seen this. You're all familiar with it. You may, to some, one degree or another, be more adept at understanding what this means and how to go about it. The reason I'm here today is to let you all know that not only do you have the community support, but you have the support of the Institute. So we are here to help support you in your mission. And our purpose, we attempt to start every meeting with this at BRM Institute by reminding ourselves of why the Institute exists. And it's to improve ourselves, our organizations, and our world by connecting relationships to results. And that's exactly what you do in your BRM BP role is taking these feelings, taking these quick wins, taking this value, building those relationships up, using BRM related tools and techniques and trainings, connecting those to say, here's how I can help you drive value, and talking to your organization, talking with your leadership, and actually driving results. The best resource and tool that I'm going to recommend at this point too is to help you in this journey is the online campus. Some of you may be members, some of you may not be members. The campus itself can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming, right? There is a very, very large global community out there adding to all of this every single day. So there's tons of knowledge and information out there, and it can be somewhat difficult sometimes to sort of sift through it. So if you're ever feeling discouraged or overwhelmed or anything like that when trying to find and navigate your way through what is going to be the most helpful, You can always reach out to the Institute, and you can always reach out to other members. That's the beautiful thing about this community that we're feeling today, is that within the online campus, there's a member hangout where you can ask questions, interact, add blog posts, and network with other BRM people in the BRM role. There's also templates, tools, and research. You're familiar with, you might have heard the BRM Interactive Body of Knowledge. That has hundreds of articles out there that give you the exact tools that you can say, hey, this can help me on this specific project right here, and I can start to drive value immediately. The relationship maturity model, which I'll briefly touch upon. There's case studies of people, actual BRMs, saying, here's how I did it. Maybe this can help you. And then finally, we have webinars on an ongoing basis. We are constantly giving webinars with BRMs who have implemented these tools and are sharing their knowledge on how to go about it. Recently, we've done webinars on relationship strategy on a page, idea document, so getting an idea started and driving value through a value plan. Relating all this together, so the online campus has all of the webinars within it, and so if you're a member, you're able to access these, but you can attend webinars for free as they're coming on live as well. I mentioned a little earlier the relationship maturity model, right? That you may all be quite familiar with this. This is just one BRM tool that really helps kind of put it in perspective. It's something that you can physically show and say, and ask your business partners, hey, what level do you see me as, at this point? What level would you like to work to together? That's just a matter of building the trust, being brave, and asking those right questions. Ideally, at the end of the day, we're all strategic partners together, advancing and driving purpose with our great R's, our really impactful, powerful relationships. I mentioned webinars as well. So the next webinar is Wednesday, August 4th, specifically talking about the organizational capability roadmap. Just yesterday, actually, we had a great webinar with Kip Fanta, one of the community's trainers, who he talked about the value plan and how and a few other tools on how to specifically communicate what value is and how you can start driving that within your organization. So again, I encourage all of you, if you get the opportunity, to go through some of these webinars. A few weeks back, there was a great webinar on, specifically a BRM team that implemented the value plan itself, and they share this tool with everybody that you can take and adapt to your organization. So the BRM community is always there. We're constantly innovating, constantly adding, and you never know what you might find when you go out there and simply ask. Just like today, there are community meetups happening all around the globe all the time. The BRM Lounge is a great, fascinating opportunity to connect with other BRMs. The next meetup is next Wednesday. I believe that's within the APAC region, but this one was actually led by Baz Behrens. He, you can see him kind of highlighted there on top with South Africa and the South Africa chapter. They had not only people from South Africa, but we had people attend from the UK, from Chile, from the United States, all across the world. And it's just great to see and recognize that there are BRMs out there doing this just like you. And Marlene mentioned the BRM Connect World Conference. The great thing about this is that you're able to actually interact in person and virtually with those who are doing exactly what they're doing in your role. I'm going to share a little bit about BRM Connect in the form of video. I believe I selected the toggle to share my audio, but please somebody let me know if it is not audible.
Number one reason I came back is because of the people, affect change, and work together as a group. And when you have some of those presentations like that that are really impactful and that allow you to kind of reflect back of what you're doing and how you're impacting your own behaviors and your organizational behaviors and kind of your place in the planet, it really puts you in perspective of how you're going to affect that change through your organization and have a positive impact.
What are people going through? What are they learning about? I think that's the coolest part about the BRM network. You get to meet people you would have never met. It's a really eye-opening perspective to see how other organizations are applying the BRM tools and fundamentals.
Relationships are at the heart of what we're harvesting as our business value. It's all about relationships. So what we do today and the relationships we build is going to really give us those results for our future.
So I think I couldn't have said it better myself, apart from just actually hearing it from the mouths of other BRMs. If you ever have any more questions, you can go to brmconnect.com and just learn more. Again, the next conference is this October 4th through the 7th. This year, because the virtual conference last year was so powerful, we decided to include another virtual option for those who wouldn't be able to attend in Philadelphia this year. So there are options. There is the ability to attend all of these events. If you do not have the ability to travel, right, that's one of the reasons we're hoping to create another powerful virtual experience this year. And I'd just like to lead with a few more quotes from other BRMs who have attended BRM Connect, or what I like to call BRM Connect epiphanies. So this is Maureen Jessithason, an MBRM, and she says, each time I attend BRM Connect, I feel that I'm tapping into the future because the topics are fresh and forward thinking. So one of the great things about BRM Connect is that it's BRMs stepping into the future. They're recognizing the trends. They're seeing what's happening. They're tapping into what's going on within and outside of their organizations, and continuing to push forward. Leif Anderson says that he invested 1 week of his time in a trip to go from Sweden to Washington, D.C. So he made that trip. And it was one of the best decisions he's made for him and his business. And I like what he says here. I think it was, no, let me correct that. I know this was the best conference I've ever been to. And if you're not able to attend, like Leif was able to, right, you know, where you are located in the UK, it can be difficult to get the budgets and be able to fly overseas. I want to share a quote from Brian, who attended last year's virtual conference, and he actually started and kind of led the BRM Lounge when that sort of came from BRM Connect last year. So he really loved it, and he said, adapt and overcome. A worldwide pandemic can't stop BRM Connect. BRM Institute has definitely put together an amazing virtual event that far exceeded my expectations. Well done. And then the last one I'd like to share with all of you is by Lee Reef. He specifically talks about attending for his team. He says, BRM Connect is absolutely a family reunion for me. This is the only event that I look forward to every year, and our entire BRM team comes out of this event energized for the year to come before we do it again. We learn so many valuable things and make so many meaningful connections at this event that I would not miss it. So with all of that in mind, if you're not able to budget for BRM Connect this year, please consider doing so in the future if this is something that interests you. But in the meantime, I would say that the next best thing you can do to connect within the community that is it's free for members to do is to get involved. We have plenty of volunteer opportunities and work groups that are constantly working to advance the BRM capability globally. And I'd love to share one specific story from Glenn Ramirez. He gave a keynote at one of the previous BRM Connects, and he specifically talks about volunteering. He said, I began volunteering in 2013, the year BRM Institute was established. It was my way of giving back and supporting the single global BRM community. Little did I know this experience would transform me as a technology professional, as an individual, and as a leader. Through BRM, I found my purpose and built lasting relationships. BRM changed my mindset, which strengthened my leadership capacity. And if all of you sort of look down there at the White Claw picture, that's a very, very popular sort of hard seltzer within the United States, or at least it's very popular in the US. He became the CIO of Mark Anthony Group, one of the leading alcohol and liquor distributors coming from Canada. he started his journey as an IT BRM. So like many of you here, you're within a BRM capacity, but he specifically points to volunteering and getting involved with the BRM community as being able to help him within his transition to become now CIO. And lastly, before we jump to the questions, I would just like to share one thing with all of you. For attending this event, just I want to thank you all for doing so. And there's a free ebook download that you can visit within our site, and I'll share it and follow up within the chat and after this, specifically titled "The Infinite Value Potential." We sort of discussed those words over here, of relationship-centered organizations. So it's like a long white paper, but it's incredibly valuable, and it points to the future of what BRM is and the direction that we're heading. So please go ahead, and if you're interested, you can download it with the free code UKBRM. And with all of that, I would love to welcome and open up the floor to any questions. I have a few potential options here to discuss with other slides if there is anything in particular. But other than that, I would love to field and see what is on all of your minds.
So, thank you. If anyone's got any questions, could we ask you to raise your hand, because that raises you to the top and makes Jeremy's job so much easier when he brings you on there. I have to say, I did put in the chat that one thing that I saw from BRM Connect whenever it was now, my years are getting all muddled up, but people were filling in those purpose shields, and they were sort of discovering their purpose, and it just seemed to bring so much joy and clarity to people. And I personally haven't made it over to the US yet, but oh my goodness, those events look absolutely phenomenal, and what we saw online was amazing. So, have we got any questions from anybody that's in there now that wants to come on? Oh look, Jade's saying when he first started out there was a business engagement manager title, but it seemed to die out very quickly. Was it everything in the States? Okay, so that's carrying on from the chat that we've got there now. Has anybody got any specific questions for Tom right now on the back of that presentation? Okay, so Marlene, I think we're going to probably throw over to you about the future of the BOK now anyway, and I'm sure that will raise some questions as we go through, and then we've got the real toughies coming for Aaron, because he's promised that we can ask our toughest questions after that.
Yeah, ask him the tough ones. I'll take the easy ones. And Tom, thank you so much for that great presentation. It really teed it up for me to be able to move forward with some of our questions or content. And also thank you for that link that you'll put in the chat with the download code. It's a great, we call it a mini book. I think it's like 30, 40 pages, but that really truly is the future of BRM, and not just BRM Institute, but BRM in general. And with that is going to give you a good indicator of where our body of knowledge is going. So we have been working on evolving the body of knowledge for well, gosh, it seems like 2020 should just be erased. We started it at the end of 2019. And so we've been doing this for about a year and a half now. And the excitement around taking the great content that was the foundation of the body of knowledge and evolving it into a fresher, modern look, putting in new techniques, new templates, bringing it into a modern space such as the BRM role has over the last 8 years, that it's been a project. I'm the lead on that, not just because I'm this chief development officer, but I don't think anyone else wanted to do it. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And gosh, sometimes you don't volunteer yourself. So, but I've gotten so much reward out of being the lead on this, because I am watching about 70 volunteers come together and feel this ownership of evolving the content and making it better, making it so much more relevant and modern. And one thing that we are doing is looking at things from a different perspective. The paper that you can download will show you that. It's about being relationship centered. The idea of being relationship centered goes all the way from the external environments all the way down to the BRM role itself. We look at organizational conditions, the organizational factors. We're looking at different activity domains. You know, in the past, it's been called tactical and strategic. We're moving away from tactical, and it's more execution and strategic. So we're looking at the differences of those roles. We're also putting in some volunteerism. So many of you are members and volunteers in some of our teams, and I'm sure at the same time you have an element of volunteerism, like you are outside of the BRM community as you are inside the BRM community. So you guys are invested here and you're attending this event, and those people in the UK community of interest who put this together, that's their volunteerism aspect of their activity domain. And yeah, I'm sure you do the same thing in your organization. You know, maybe it's helping out with the homeless or helping out with whatever community interest that your organization supports. It is an incredibly wonderful time to bring all of what BRM is into a new light. And the collaboration has been phenomenal. Every single week we meet. And I could tell you that the most exciting meetings I have been around advancing and evolving the competency model. That has sparked up some great conversations about what truly is a competency for a BRM. And we are categorizing them according to the mission, which is to evolve culture, build partnerships, drive value, and satisfy purpose. So you're going to see a shift in how content is structured, not just the content itself evolving, but the way it's structured, making it truly focused around the mission of BRM. And with that, we also are evolving our BRMP class. I'm not going to talk, I don't really want that to be the focus of this project, but that is an element of it, as well as CBRM. All of our knowledge offerings are going to be evolving, and you're going to see new releases coming out between, October all the way till the end of time, to be honest. But the BRMP and the CBRM, within the next year, you're going to see both of those be evolved, and new exams, new materials, with a focus of the BRM role and the capability, mainly the capability. So the current version of the BRMP really has a heavy focus on the BRM role itself. It's structured around the BRM DNA. That structure and that categorization of content has shifted over to our mission statement. So you're going to see content shifting into that type of focus. And I can tell you, super exciting to actually hear the new content being delivered. Actually, we're doing it this week. I'm not sure, no one on this call, on this event or this call is attending both except me and Aaron. So, but we're actually piloting the course material this week, and to sit in the class and hear the facilitator speak the new content, and we have activities around it, it's like a shot of adrenaline right mainlining into my arm, because it's awesome to see and to hear the students just absorbing it in a way that I didn't see that during my class when I took the BRMP, and it's because it's focused on the role not so much the role, but the capability. BRMP is focused more on the capability than the role, and it should be, because that's what BRM is. You have to understand what business relationship management is as a capability before you know how to do it as a role. So we set the stage really well with what the capability is, and then today we'll be getting into the role, but for the last 3 days, we've been talking about the capability itself with the mission. So really exciting things happening there. The engagement is fantastic. The acceptance of the new material is going really well. And you guys are going to be in for a big treat. So for those of you who already have your certification, you're going to get an opportunity to get exposed to the new material starting in probably the first of the year. We're going to have what we call a bridge materials, that there is a subset of the BRMP class that we want all BRMs and BRMPs and CBRMs to learn. So you'll have an opportunity to do that either in an instructor-led type offering or self-paced. But we want you all to be refreshed with and re-energized with the new content. You'll get a taste of it in the mini book that Tom got the code for you to download. So just know that BRM is, as far as my eyes and my opinion, it's going to have a explosion of excitement and adoption and awareness all around the world. The way that this content is being changed and evolved and adjusted is to focus on the BRM role, regardless of the function you're in. There's less of a technology IT focus and more about BRM. Doesn't matter what function you're in, what industry you're in, it's function and industry generic. And it's awesome. And it's going to propel all of the BRMPs to want to become CBRMs, because CBRM is really where you're going to learn the application and the execution and when to use the tools in the right scenarios and really advance the competencies into a master level. And that's the other exciting piece is the competency model. So right now we have it we have it set, categorized in according to the DNA. That's switching again, as I mentioned, to the mission with the different capabilities, and the care and love that was put into them. It will show. You'll see it and you'll be like, okay, now I know what Marlene was talking about. Tom's been on those calls with me as well. And one or two people on this call, I think, have been as well. I can't see everybody's names right now, but it's been a global exercise that everyone's a part of this. This is not just a United States effort. This is global. We have people from all over the world helping us with this. So we're getting great international, global thoughts and perspectives of what the BRM role is to ensure that we're doing it the right way. And I can't wait. I know that me and Aaron and Tom, we were like itching to get this out, but we have to be patient. Got to get it just perfect. And there's a lot of questions around it. There's a lot of like, when should I hold off on the BRMP? No, not at all. If you have the BRMP scheduled between now and October, go take it. Because the information in the BRMP that you're learning right now is still 100% relevant. It's not being discontinued. It's not being end of lifed. Some things are because we've adjusted it into maybe another article, or we've evolved the technique or the model, so it may look a little different. But the base foundation of what BRM has laid over the last 8 years is 100% relevant. So if you have it scheduled to take the BRMP between now and October, still continue to do it. And what you'll get in October, October plus, is added on to that. So don't feel like there's any sort of, oh, I have the original version. Does that make me, a dinosaur now? No, it makes you even that much more valuable, because that you have that base foundation, and then you'll have the new fresh material to just add value to your organization with all this new stuff you're going to see. So you've been doing it, you're just going to it's almost like an extra layer of whipped cream on that wonderful, cake that you've been, dishing out over the last couple of years. So any questions about the evolution project? I know that Timelines are, there's some definite ones, such as October 1st is our inaugural BRMP class. I have some very aggressive goals for our CBRM and our other knowledge offerings, but within the next, by the end of 2022, everything should be updated and advanced. So any questions about the evolution project before I just talk a little bit about some other things? And I was told, by the way, not to do a slide deck, so you're getting total free flow here.
It's great, Marlene. It's looking good. I love the free flow. It's good. The TV one. Yeah. So has we haven't got any questions specifically for that in the chat at the moment, but it sounds really interesting, the involvement. So will there be any sort of difference that people can see, or the current qualifications are still very relevant? Yeah.
The current qualifications are the same. Your certificate, your badge, your digital badge, those are all going to be the same. There's no visual difference between the original version and the new evolved version. We don't have version numbers because we don't want to say that BRMP 2.0 is better than 1.0. And usually when you stick a number to it, it makes it feel that way. We don't want that because it's still as relevant and still as important. And so we're not doing a versioning number system, but we will have a year attached to it. So for those of you who do get it after October 1st, your certificate will have 2021 in there somewhere. Could be in the exam title when you go to take your exam. It could be in the materials. It could be so you might see the 2021 year in there, but there's no version number to it. So good question, Estelle, because I know she and I have been talking a lot about digital badge changes or the logo for the BRMP actual certification changing, and that is not changing at all.
Okay, that's great. So we're coming up to the big Q&A, which I'm very excited about. So just before we move on to that, do we have any? Yes, it was great. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you very much. And what time is it now? I can't do the maths. I know it was 4 o'clock in the morning when you started. So what time?
It's 7:50 for Aaron and I. 7:50 a.m.
Amazing.
And I do just want to thank all of you in this community. I mentioned it at the beginning, but the growth and the adoption and awareness of just specifically from the UK community of interest has grown from, what I saw in 2015 when I started to what it is now. I mean, you're talking 150 people have registered for this event. This is fantastic. It's been such a great growing opportunity for your community that now you're shifting hopefully into the chapter zone. So when communities evolve and advance to the point where they're rocking and rolling, we want to shift them into a chapter. So for those of you who don't know about that, there's an opportunity that's going to be coming soon to actually be an official chapter. So watch for that. And that's only because of how much love and care that you guys put into your community, just as much as we try to put into the global community from the Institute side. So thank you so much for everyone on this call, for everyone in the community, whether they're on the call or not, whether they're just part of it and they couldn't attend today. Thank you to the leadership of this community to put this event on and continue to see this community to the next level into the chapter zone. So thank you so much. We can't do this without you. Otherwise, we're just doing stuff for nobody, and that's not helpful. We want to do it to where it's received and it's appreciated. And when you guys need something, we're here for you. So we are your resource. So always look to us in that way. And if you have suggestions or comments or ideas that we can look into for a future offering or product, please let us know. We want to make sure we're meeting your needs. So thank you again, and congratulations on a great event.
Thank you very much, Marlene.